Rosie the Riveter is a culture icon of World War II. It's a representation of the women who worked at factories and shipyards during World War II. These women took the men's jobs who joined the military.
Rosie the Riveter was an important figure in women's life between 1940 and 1945. The female percentage of the U.S. workforce increased from 27% to nearly 37%. And by 1945, nearly 1 out of every 4 married women worked outside of home. After this time, all of these women suffered in tragedy because the war had ended and they were losing all their jobs. Rosie the Riveter showed them that they can get through all the tragedies about losing their jobs and that they can do it.
Rosie the Riveter got her timeless image because in 1942, 20-year-old Naomi Parker was working in a machine shop at the Naval Air Station in Alameda, California, when a photographer snapped a shot of her on the job. In the photo released through the Acme Photo Agency, she's bent over an industrial machine, wearing a jumpsuit and sensible heels, with her hair tied back in a polka dot bandana for safety. Little did they know, the photo they took became an inspiration to women around America.
In 1942, 20-year-old Naomi Parker was working. A photograph of Naomi Parker was sported to be known as Rosie the Riveter. She took a job at California's Alameda Naval Air Station after the attack on Pearl Harbor and the United States going into war. She was one of the millions of women who stepped into new roles as men were sent off to war. She was born on August 26, 1961 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Then 98 years later, died of cancer on January 20th, 2018.
Other sources believe that Rosie the Riveter is actually Rose Will Monroe, who worked as a riveter at the Willow Run bomber plant in Detroit. On the morning of December 7, 1941, 183 Japanese warplanes attacked America's Hickam Field, Pearl Harbor, in Hawaii. The results were 2,433 deaths, the destruction of the 18 U.S. warships, and 188 airplanes. The attack left the nation stunned as President Roosevelt called them the United States to war.
So much American men enlisted in this war that the jobs industry decreased so much that the women took on the jobs. Mothers, daughters, and even schoolgirls took on the factory job that the men had left behind. They were known as riveters.
Riveters worked in factories producing weapons for the war, such as bombs, tanks, ships, and airplanes. They discovered that they could become independent women with the pay that they were getting with those jobs.
Prior to the war, women made about 1% of the aircraft building industry. During the war, women made 65% of the aircraft building wages. This rose much higher than they ever were, starting at 60 cents an hour, and gradually growing to $1 an hour. Although wages for women increased, they were still far from men's wages. In 1944, skilled female workers made $31.21 per week on average, but males made $54.65 per week on average.
Many women loved working in the factories rather than staying at home. The riveters were happy to know that they were a part of helping to win the war. Many said that even the money came second. They became known as the production soldiers in the defense industries.
Eleanor Roosevelt toured the factories and was entirely shocked. She quoted, "I hardly saw a man who did not speak to me about the need for women in a production."
Many women loved working in the factories rather than staying at home. The riveters were happy to know that they were a part of helping to win the war. Many said that even the money came second. They became known as the production soldiers in the defense industries. Rosie the Riveter was a triumph for showing that women can do it and that they could be independent. Tragedies came her way when companies still preferred men over women after the war ended. In conclusion, Rosie the Riveter's act still affects modern-day history and inspires us to this day.
All the day long, whether rain or shine, she's a part of the assembly line. She's making history, working for victory. Rosie, the riveter, keeps a sharp lookout for sabotage. Sitting up there on the fuselage, that little frail can do more than a male can do. Rosie, the the Riveter. Rosie's got a boyfriend, Charlie. Charlie, he's a Marine. Rosie is protecting Charlie, working overtime on the riveting machine. When they gave her a production knee, she was as proud as a girl could be. There's something true about red, white, and blue about Rosie the Riveter. Rosie the Riveter. Rosie, 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 working on assembly line. Bubble day, bubble dee dee leave it on that day. Reebie boy, reebie boy, reebie. Rosie, Rosie, Rosie the Riveter on the assembly